The battle between the Republican and Conservative Party candidates for Congress in New York's 23rd District is not just the epicenter of Republican Party chaos. It has also become the latest litmus test for conservative bona fides. And in our third story on the countdown, former Arkansas governor and current TV host Mike Huckabee may be showing confidence or possibly even playing out a grudge by not endorsing either candidate. But Huckabee's far-right friends are not happy. A quick reminder that the Conservative Party candidate is supported by the likes of Alaska blogger Sarah Palin and rabid Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann. Mr. Hoffman, unlike the Republican candidate for New York's 23rd District, is socially conservative. But Mr. Huckabee has not formally endorsed Mr. Hoffman. Quote, "It's very disappointing," said the vice president of the Family Research Council. Quote, "You have names out there like Sarah Palin, Fred Thompson, Tim Pawlenty. You'd think that would have pushed him to make a decision," end quote. And from New York's state Conservative Party, its president telling Politico, quote, "When you're the leader of the conservative movement, as Mike Huckabee is, you should make a bold statement." Mr. Huckabee has said this, quote, "Well, I think Doug Hoffman certainly, his views represent more closely to mine. He represents not only what the Conservative Party stands for, but what most Republicans stand for." But one conservative blog has mused that Huckabee holds a grudge against former presidential candidate Fred Thompson and did not endorse Hoffman because Mr. Thompson did. And a conservative magazine noted that Hoffman is the choice of the anti-tax Club for Growth, which criticized Huckabee sharply during his presidential run. Let's bring in Democratic strategist Chris Kofinas, also the former communications director for the presidential campaign of Senator John Edwards. Thanks for joining us tonight, Chris.
Good evening, Lawrence.
Chris, it doesn't get any more fun than this. New York's 23rd is the gift that keeps on giving. Here was Huckabee holding back, trying to play it safe. Does it look to you, Chris, like he was trying to, in effect, play it the way leaders play it? When you're out in front, the front runner for the endorsement, the front runner for the nomination, you start to play it safe. Is this the first evidence that Huckabee thinks he's the front runner for the nomination and is trying to play it safe?
Yeah, I think he was clearly, keeping his eye not on the special election in New York, but on the presidential Republican primary that's coming up in a couple of years. So I think, he had endorsed Rubio, who's kind of the conservative challenger down in the Florida Senate race. So, following, in New York may have been a bridge too far for him. He may have, tried to come across maybe a little bit more independent or a little bit more moderate. But in either event, what this has done is just exposed this incredible civil war that has broken out over this, pretty anomalous situation in New York. Why fight over a seat that you were going to win? But it has exposed, I think, a real division within the Republican Party between the conservatives and the even ultra-conservatives.
My sources in the district, Chris, which is the largest by square miles east of the Mississippi, are telling me that it now looks like Hoffman is pulling ahead. Now, if the conservative wins, is this a win for those who endorsed Hoffman, and what happens to those who didn't?
Well, they're going to believe it's a win. They're going to go out there and crow about how the Republican Party came home to its true conservative roots. What the various grassroots groups that are backing this, like Club for Growth, as well as these various Republican activists, whether it's Sarah Palin or Rush Limbaugh, what they don't understand is this is a lose-lose-lose scenario. Even if they win this seat with Hoffman, they're going to lose, because what they will have basically done is declared war on every moderate Republican out there. And the conservative factions within the Republican Party are going to be emboldened. They're going to go out there and they're going to want to attack Republican candidates who don't fit their ideological view. And unfortunately, I think what the Republican Party has to come to terms with is that they need an ideological vasectomy. I mean, it's really that brutal. I mean, this notion that somehow you're going to define what a party is based on the extremes just ignores political calculations. It just ignores the fact you can't win elections that way.
Chris, just quickly now, going to election night, if the Democrat cannot pull this one out as a win, pull it out of the middle of that Republican Civil War, what should people be rooting for? What will Democratic strategists like you be rooting for as the second best outcome in that district?
Well, you know, if the Democrat, if Owens doesn't win, my preference is that Hoffman wins, because it will embolden the conservative right, just like I said, and that will spill over across the board, let alone what's going to happen in 2012. And what New York, the special election really is a preview of the 2012 civil war that's going to break out between the various factions like Huckabee and like Palin. It's going to be something to watch.
Democratic strategist Chris Kofinas, try to contain your glee. Many thanks for joining us tonight.
Happy Halloween.